Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now November 22nd of 2023, and the Marvels looks like it is showing no sign of a recovery or a rebound where it stands right now. We know that those out there like Brie Larson, Bob Iger over at Disney, and even the director of the Marvels, Nia DaCosta, and Kevin Feige have endlessly been defending this movie and really saying whatever they have to say to get people into the theater seats, to pay for a ticket to watch this thing, to boost the worldwide box office up as much as possible. Now, we know that this film had the absolute worst opening at the box office in MCU history. That's just a given fact, and that really is quite the achievement for Disney, I must say, because you really have to have no direction to get that bad with a movie like that. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, the thing about Brie Larson is that we know that this movie was basically the final nail in the coffin to the Captain Marvel character. For the most part, we're going to be diving into exactly what's going on between Bob Iger and Brie Larson right now, and exactly how it's creating more tensions for Kevin Feige as the head of all things Marvel over at Marvel Studios. Now, the way things that Kevin Feige has been handling the MCU for the past number of films and television shows, he is very much becoming like Kathleen Kennedy, who, by the way, is, not so much of a coincidence, but they are very good friends, and there's no doubt about it that they influence each other on how to properly use their overall franchises, and that's why you have elements of Kathleen Kennedy's overall take on things in the latest Marvel projects, because she did in fact inform Kevin Feige on how to do such a thing. That's why she offered him a Star Wars movie, and that's why it eventually never worked out as well. Now, what's interesting about this, though, has a lot to do with what Bob Iger recently did. Now, with the Marvels still spiraling out of control at the box office, and only garnering $162 million worldwide so far, one major development has to do with the current status of Brie Larson over at Disney. Now, as it turns out, after the Marvel's box office collapse took place, Bob Iger convinced those at Marvel Studios and the rest of the higher-ups in an emergency meeting over at Disney to move forward with firing Brie Larson from a number of projects, both for film and television. Now, the specifics of this is that Larson was indeed fired and let go from over 90% of Marvel projects, and that only, of course, 2 projects remain for Captain Marvel and her presence that are described to be small roles to begin with. Initially, Larson had a 10-year Marvel deal that she negotiated with Disney just 1 year ago. This also included her involvement in Avengers movies, such as Secret Wars and the Kang Dynasty, which, by the way, guys, Kang Dynasty is getting reworked. And it also included Deadpool 3 and other Marvel films like Fantastic Four for 2025. All of those have reportedly dropped Larson as Disney is firing her from projects left and right. She was even set up to have a big influence on a planned Ms. Marvel Season 2 that's in the early development phase right now. Larson's biggest role, however, for 2025 was going to be Fantastic Four, where she was going to hold a big impact on the story with the members of the Fantastic Four, somehow, some way that would break the canon material from the comics, and its connection to the Silver Surfer. Now, let me just stop here for 1 minute about this. The thing about that is that we know that Brie Larson, as Captain Marvel, is something that she was very much attached to. She viewed the MCU as the backbone or the life support of her career in the film industry. That's basically just how it was, and now even that is getting tarnished. And I'm sure that you guys heard everything that has been going on right now with Fantastic Four. They really are going through quite the difficult time of casting who's going to portray Reed Richards. Pedro Pascal is actually a part of that roster. It's not finalized just yet, though, but he is part of that roster, just to be very clear and direct with you guys. The thing about Silver Surfer actually getting gender swapped, that is an actual thing that Bob Iger and those at Marvel Studios like Kevin Feige are pushing for. And the plan is to do that in 100% CGI style, with some practical effects thrown into the mix. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Now, what's interesting about this too is that this entire role for Larson was also fired and removed from it, and was a call made by Bob Iger. Iger pushed Kevin Feige, as it turns out, to fire Brie from all these Marvel roles, and it created a tension between Kevin and those at Marvel Studios, getting into a brief series of disagreements about that choice. Now, Iger reportedly doubled down on the push to remove Larson from practically all the projects that she was signed up for. The last two that remain so far, that include Larson as Captain Marvel, are currently untitled projects that are in early development that are planned to hold a full announcement by Disney in 2024. However, these projects are not central stories to Captain Marvel per se, and will only include her somehow in some way to answer some deep lore questions strictly, and that's the main reason why. In addition to all of this, Kevin Feige reportedly was frustrated with Bob Iger's decision to shift away from the push to make Larson a big focus in the next phase and beyond as Captain Marvel for the MCU. So, as it turns out, they wanted to make Captain Marvel become a bigger focus, widely so, in the Marvel Universe. Because we all know that Brie Larson said this time and time again, that she views her character as the most powerful superhero of all time in the Marvel Universe, so that she deserves to have all those roles and stuff like that. She said that months and months ago before the actors' strike. And here we stand, looking at the collapse at the box office of The Marvels. Something that Bob Iger endlessly kept denying just weeks ago, that this movie was gonna fail, and saying how it was nothing more than just, the Hollywood trades using some kind of agenda against having a all-female led project come to the big screen, and how that's somehow a bit of a, threat to a lot of trades out there that don't want to necessarily see something like that, that holds an agenda by Disney. That's really all it really dwindles down to. Now, we know that this movie, in and of itself, is just a badly written story. Its subpar directing also makes it an aimless story, and it really holds no value. That's the real core reason. Sure, there are some agendas thrown into this film, but I can't stress this enough. The main reason why it's failing is due to the lackluster story. Now, the Fantastic Four is going to be even worse, and I always like to say this. Is it going to be Fantastic Four, or is it going to be Fantastic Poor? Alright? Because we already know that the cast decisions are really shaky right now. Disney is not really confident in this movie to begin with, and that's why it's taking so long to figure out who's going to become Reed Richards, who's going to become this character, who's going to become that character. There were even discussions, like I said before, about gender swapping the Silver Surfer, but that is not finalized just yet, just to be clear with you all. Now, in conclusion, at no surprise, Brie Larson is doing everything in her power with her agent to get Marvel Studios and Disney to reinstate these roles that she was fired from the entire MCU, and to get those back on the table. And you know what? I could see why she's getting so desperate to kind of go to that extra length to take action on Disney, because this is really like the life support of her acting career in the film industry. It's just the overall truth. So overall, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.